I wonder if, like me, you have been experiencing some moments of frustration during this time. Frustration is quite normal, but there's quite a lot going on in the world right now that we are trying to pay attention to, be aware of. Knowing how to deal with frustration is a very important skill that we slowly get to acquire as we grow up. Now, for those of us who have grown up, we have the ability to model and exemplify and support those who are younger than us to know how to deal with frustration and to manage and engage with frustration in a way that is positive rather than negative. How do you currently deal with frustration? What mechanisms do you use to help yourself through it so that you don't get stuck in your frustration, rather you're able to move on and move forward? Picture this. You meet a new group of children. You go around and you slowly introduce yourself to them. Some children welcome you with open arms, others are a little bit shy, but they still wave hi. Some focus on their playing as if you're not even there. You see a child playing on their own on the other side of the classroom. So you slowly make your way and you go on to say hello. To which this child responds to you with, "No!" Now, I didn't mean to startle you, but this is actually something that happened to me. As you continue to try to talk to this child keeps on just saying no and screaming at you. Now you're a new individual meeting all of these children. You're going around saying hello, and it's natural that these children have different responses to you. But you're sort of taken aback by this child screaming at you when all you're trying to do is say hello to them. You try again to have a conversation with this child, and the conversation goes nowhere. Every time you try to say something, the child just screams back at you. And so you very politely say, "Well, hello, I'm new here, but I'm just going to walk away to go to another area now." Over the next few days, you once again try to engage with this child, to which the child keeps having the same response. You ask them a question or you make a comment of what they're doing, and they automatically scream no or just scream at you. In other instances, when you're playing with other children, let's say maybe playing Lego or playing in the house corner, and this child just kind of slowly walks on the sidelines to notice what you're doing. You see them doing this, and so you ask them, "Hi, do you want to play with us?" To which this child once again just screams no and screams at you and then goes away. Your interactions with this child continue on with this pattern, and slowly you begin to see that other children and other adults in the room also have this sort of interaction with this child. In hindsight, you begin to understand why this child was playing on their own when you first arrived. What would you do in this situation? How would you continue engaging with this child? Would you decide to continue trying to engage with this child? From their grunts, their screaming, saying no, we can deduce that this child is going through something, or at least something is frustrating this child. Seeing as having a conversation with this child wasn't really possible, and even inviting them into moments of play didn't seem like a possibility, there had to be a different way to engage with this child that would help them through their frustration. The reality is, when we're faced with frustrations, it can be quite difficult to process through them, to move past them, or to deal with them. We either like to stay within it, or we just leave it behind and deal with something else. But the thing is, we know that when we are able to process through our frustrations, when we are able to be in the midst of our frustrations, we are able to grow, learn more, and build off of those experiences to help us further along in life. For example, I was going through some back pain a few weeks ago, and I'd be lying if I'd said that it wasn't frustrating at all. When it came down to it, I could barely sit, I could barely lie down, I could barely stand. The reality of my back pain made me so frustrated that I almost felt like I didn't know what to do. I had to be honest with myself in those feelings and to ask myself, was there really nothing I could do? Well, the answer is no. I had to rest, I had to do my stretches, I had to help my body to get back to a certain norm so that it could keep getting better. Going back to this moment with this child, I took a similar approach. Every day and a few times a day, I would go over and say hello. Recognize what they're doing. To say to them, hey, I see that you're playing with the puzzles, or that you're reading a book. Are you enjoying it? To which the child would scream or say no to me, and instead of walking away and leaving them with their frustration, I would say, oh, it seems like something is bothering you, but I'm glad you have your book or you're playing with your puzzle. I'm gonna go and find something so that I can play. I kept this pattern on for about a week, slowly letting the child know that I was recognizing them despite them screaming at me. In addition to this, when I would notice the child coming towards me and a group of children when we were playing, and I would ask them if they would like to join, that they would scream at me. I would take the time to recognize with them what they're showing me. To say to them, oh, you're screaming at me. I wonder if there's something wrong. You were walking over and you looked like you wanted to join us. But then when I asked you, you screamed at me. Is there something I can help you with? To which the child would once again scream at me. Once again, I kept on this pattern for a period of time. At this point, I'm communicating a few things to this child. One, that I noticed their presence in the room. Two, I'm seeing how they're responding to me, and I'm communicating to them again what they're showing me. Thirdly, I'm helping them recognize the implications of their actions towards the rest of the children, myself, and the possibility of them joining in to play with us. This process of communicating these three things to this child really was a process. It almost seemed like everything I was doing was not working. That whenever I would interact with this child would just scream at me. Whenever I wanted to help this child to engage in a moment, they would scream at me as well. And sometimes frustrating situations and interactions can sometimes seem like that. It seems like we're going over the same thing over and over and over again, and nothing is changing. That said, as I continued in this pattern of interactions with this child, I noticed a few things. One, the other children didn't want to play with this child. Two, some of the other educators didn't want to engage with this child either. Three, this child spent most of their day alone, and very rarely would someone go over and interact with them. If you were to be in this situation, would you keep going with what I was doing? Would you keep trying to communicate with this child? Would it actually make you more frustrated? Would you hold on to a hope that this child may one day not scream at you and hopefully engage with you in a way that was more pro-social? The thing is, for this child, they were having a lot of trouble engaging with others. It could have been that they didn't understand how, they felt uncomfortable doing so, maybe they had specific ideas of how they wanted to engage, but they couldn't communicate them. Whatever those reasons were, and me trying to continue having a conversation with this child, to notice how they were feeling, to show them that I noticed and I wanted to help them, slowly allowed them to recognize what they were frustrated with. And more importantly, to recognize that they were allowed the space to deal with their frustrations, to deal with what they were feeling, and that their feelings were okay. I began to see this child playing with other children. They would slowly walk up and watch what the children are doing. And when the children would ask, "Would you like to play with us?" they would sit down and slowly play with them. They would watch and play, and slowly they would share their own ideas of how they wanted to play. Granted, there were a few times that another child would say no to their idea and they would go back to screaming, to which I would step in and allow this child once again the space to know that their feelings are valid. To tell them, it sounds like you had this idea, but so-and-so didn't want to do it. I wonder how we can work through this. Is there another way that you can share your idea? Or maybe the other individual could just try out your idea for a few minutes to see how it is, to see what they like. This way, I'm reminding the child that it's not all over when someone says no, and as well, they have the power to engage in this moment in a way that honors themselves, honors their own ideas, and gives themselves the space that they need. After a month of interacting with this child, supporting them through whatever was frustrating them, they would only scream maybe about once a day, or even once every other day. In the end, it wasn't anything special that I did, or anything miraculous that happened. Rather, it was recognizing the simplicity and necessity of giving our feelings, giving whatever is frustrating us, and ultimately giving ourselves the space we need to process what we're feeling. For this child, it took a month and a little bit. And hopefully in the future, that period of time can become shorter and shorter and shorter. And they can become more and more confident in dealing with their frustration and attending to their frustrations, and so that they can resume what they were doing. The hope is that when we take a step back and we allow ourselves the space to recognize how we're feeling, recognize what's frustrating us, then we're able to support children through this space as well. Because it takes one person who knows what it feels to be frustrated, knows how to deal with it, knows how to move past it, in order to see another individual going through the same thing. When we have this posture of recognizing and supporting and giving space for others to be with their emotions, to be with their feelings, to be with whatever is frustrating them or making them upset, then we can continue building opportunities where we can come together to watch, think, be.